episode 94 of the Hooks In MMA podcast. We're back here in July 2023, and we're going to be sharing our best bets to get ahead of that book and hopefully meet you at the cashier tomorrow night. We've got UFC 290 coming up at T-Mobile Arena in Las Vegas, Nevada here with two title fights on the line. The main event of the evening is Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez. And then, of course, we've got Brandon Moreno versus Alexandre Pantoja, the trilogy fight there, but also for the flyweight championship of the world. So we're going to be talking through the prelim first, getting right into the main card. And like I said, sharing some parlays, some single plays, and sharing some of those hidden value bets on the book here. So I'm going to share Tapology, and we're going to jump right into things. We're going to start out here earlier on in the card. There's one here that I'm really liking, and that would be Cameron Saaiman. He's a South African, as you can see, undefeated fighter. Let's look at the tail of the tape when we go into this. He does look, quite young, coming in at 22 years old. 11-year difference here on Terrence Mitchell. Mitchell has had, a great run here recently, but of course not fighting the high-level competition that the UFC really offers. And of course, Saaiman, same sort of thing, right? He's a bit of a newer fighter. He came on to the scene here with Dana White Contender Series 9 months ago. You can see a nice KO finish for him to secure his contract. And then since then, standing TKO over Kozlo, and just recently there, a majority decision win over Mana Martinez. And so really liking Saaiman here. I know that he is a heavy favorite. If I'm pulling up Bet 365, he's also, minus 550 there as well. But something I would recommend throwing into a parlay play, combined with maybe a couple other favorites or a couple prop bets, and definitely one I'm going to be sprinkling on and endorsing. I do expect a big performance out of him. I believe it is going to be his first pay-per-view appearance. I think these were fight nights where he last appeared. And so I think he's going to really want to showcase his skills here in front of the pay-per-view crowd and really make a name for himself on the prelims. So heading back here, we're going to scroll up a little bit to the Jimmy Crute, Alonzo Menafield fight. This one here, we've seen a mixed kind of bag out of Jimmy Crute over his last few fights. Obviously not too strong with that devastating leg injury that he had versus Anthony Smith, where basically the doctor had to stop the fight. Crute couldn't even come out of his corner there. I think it was going into the third round. Jamal Hill also beat him by devastating highlight reel knockout. And then there was that recent fight there with Menafield, which they're looking to get back into a rematch on. And so what I'm looking for here, guys, is same sort of thing as the Saaiman fight. I do see a big age discrepancy, roughly 8 years, slightly 8.5 years, and just a bit better of a ground game, I would say, out of Crute. I think that's his key to victory over Menafield. I think he needs to get him down. I think he needs to rain down the ground and pound, the wrestling. I think is going to be his key to victory. I don't think he wants to stand and bang with Alonzo Menafield. That's, I think, what he's going to try to bait him into. We have seen Crute kind of struggle with that in the past, right? Getting into these slugfests and not really seeing the advantage for himself there. And so this one coming in odds-wise, you can see here, minus 135 slight favorite, basically lines up the same on Bet 365, minus 138. My pick here, guys, it's going to be a bit contrarian. I'm liking the value at plus 500, Crute by decision. You're getting 6-1 odds, just less than a 20% probability. And I think it's more of a maybe 30-40% chance of it happening. So I do think there's a bit of an edge there where you could pick up some value. Don't really suggest taking the decision in a parlay. I think that's a great single bet, right? If your units are $10, that's a $60 return, $50 profit. And I think that's a pretty good one and a good chance of happening. I could see a 29-28 decision for Crute. If he gets on top of Menafield and rains down some elbows and some ground and pound and really just grinds him out. We have seen Menafield tend to fade in later rounds, carrying around a lot of mass. He's a big boy, and if Crute can just kind of drain him out there in the first round or two, I think that will be his key to victory. I'm also going to be taking Jimmy on the money line in some parlays. You're getting close to that, 2-1 odds there. He's the slight favorite. And I really think he's going to get back on track and get back in the win column here. With this matchup, that I think he is going to be favored, especially when it comes to the ground game. Moving ahead, we've Robbie, Lawler, and Niko Price. Robbie Lawler, as we all know, is a legend. He's been one of the more OG fighters that we've seen in recent years. And as you could see, last 5 fights has really, really struggled. He's way past his prime, guys. He, has been either finished there by Askren or just really dominant decisions over him against Colby, Neil Magny, and then most recently got knocked out by Barberena. And so really do expect him to go out here with a bang, but also with a loss. Niko Price on the other side of things isn't, going to be that top contender, top 5 fighter anytime soon. But I do think he's got the athletic edge. He's going to have a little more energy and firepower. And I would actually be surprised if this one went to the cards too. I could see Niko Price getting the finish here and winning quite handily. And so definitely recommend either by finish, which is sitting at -105, or just straight money line coming in close to that -235. I am seeing here -250 on Bet365s, which says there's a lot of money coming in on the price side. Again, not something I do a single bet on, but would be a high likelihood of happening and could be a great parlay piece. Bo Nickal and Val Woodburn will be an exciting fight for sure. But expect that Bo Nickal gets some quick work done, and especially on late notice, taking out Woodburn in that first round. But again, not great odds, and it's actually kind of crazy how widespread this one is. It's -2,500 for Bo Nickal, and even if you're looking at by finish, it's -1,000, which don't really recommend. If you are going to take anything, Bo Nickal in the first round is -300. That's probably the only one I would take. And if you are starting to feel crazy, you could also go Val Woodburn by finish. That one's coming in at +1,600, or even perhaps a flash knockout first round, second round at +3,300. 34-1 is spectacular odds, especially when you look at someone like Val Woodburn and the frame he has and the overhand right power that he possesses. Looking ahead here to Dan Hooker, Jalin Turner. This one to me, guys, outside of, the 2 main events or 2 championship belts is the one I'm really excited for. 2 strikers here in Dan Hooker and Jalin Turner. I do think that Jalin Turner has the athletic edge. He did come in overweight today, but don't really think that's going to affect things and how it plays out. We have seen Dan Hooker somewhat regress in recent fights, right? Got knocked out by Chandler. Did have a nice decision win over Nasrat, although Nasrat did not look good in that fight. Really got dominated by Islam, which, Islam's dominating everyone. But then Arnold Allen really just destroyed him there on the stand-up game. And when you're looking at Claudio Puelles, that's not really anyone to write home about and not top echelon talent. So that win there, I don't really even consider a win, just because they were on 2 different levels, 2 different trajectories. And I think it was one of those, give him a can to get back in the win column type thing, because he is a fan favorite. On the other side, we've got Jalin Turner, where has made quick work of a lot of the guys he's recently faced. Most recently, you might remember that Gamrot fight I thought that it was an extremely close fight. It was a split decision, of course, but Jalin Turner could have had his arm raised there. At times, it looked like Gamrot just did not want to stand and really just wanted to take him down, which was a great game plan, great IQ. But I think in this one here, Hooker's not going to have that wrestling or ground game to really neutralize the dynamic striking of Jalin Turner. So again, guys, this is one great parlay piece. I'm actually going to be suggesting here combining that with Niko Price, and looking ahead, I'll give you the third leg of that parlay that you can expect to have a high likelihood of hitting. And then we're into what could be the people's match of the night, and that's Robert Whittaker, fan favorite, versus Dricus du Plessis out of South Africa. This one here is an interesting fight only because we've seen Robert Whittaker in that top 3, top contender spot for the last while, and he's looking to get back to that to get another title shot. I do see that du Plessis will come out quite aggressive. He's going to blitz Robert Whittaker, but I just feel Robert Whittaker's IQ, his calmness in the octagon, coupled with his underrated grappling and takedowns, will be the difference. So I do see Whittaker, I would say probably grinding out a decision win would be what I'm leaning towards, as well as a few of us in the Hooks and group we're talking about. I could see that this one is, fought on the ground for a little bit. If du Plessis gets over aggressive, rushes in, I could see the, counter takedown by Robert Whittaker working when he's off balance. And so I do see Robert Whittaker controlling the octagon, controlling the pace, and just fighting his fight. He always comes in with a good game plan, and I don't expect anything different tomorrow. And so if you are looking at decision, it's plus 180. Pretty good odds there. I do like that, close to 3-1, with an expected probability around 35%. And I think this is closer to a 50% chance of happening. So there are some value plays here. Looking ahead then to the co-main event of the evening, we've got Brandon Moreno versus Alexandre Pantoja. And again, this is a rematch, third fight actually. And so they do have a bit of a, rivalry going. This time around, though, I do think Moreno's got the slight edge. I think he's evolved as a fighter. He's been obviously successful here at the top levels and is the defending champ. And you got to think, if this one goes to the cards after 5 rounds, the judges will favor the incumbent champion. It's going to be really hard to, give a decision win to Pantoja unless it's a dominant victory. But I don't see that happening. I see it being a close fight for sure. I could see it being 3-2, maybe 4-1, but in Moreno's favor here. And so I do like the overs in this one. It's not paying the greatest because, it's a lighter weight class, and these guys tend to have great endurance and, fuel tanks. But if you are looking at potentially like plus or over 3.5 rounds, I think that's a good value bet there at minus 155 and a very high likelihood of happening. But looking at Moreno here by decision, it's plus 190. I think that's great value. And I also do like a bit of a unique bet, but the double chance of both TKO and decision for Moreno, which is coming in at minus 125. And so that brings us to that 3-leg parlay I had mentioned earlier. I've got Niko Price, I've got Jalin Turner, and I've got that double chance coming in. I believe it was a $20 bet, paid $70. So nice $50 profit there for those 3 legs hitting. And I would be shocked if any of those don't pull through. So that's going to be my parlay of the week, guys. Again, it's Turner by money line, Niko Price money line, and then Brandon Moreno double chance decision in TKO. $20 pays $70. And then looking ahead, we've got our main event of the evening, Alexandre Volkanovski versus Yair Rodriguez, getting back to this weight class here. for Alexander Volk coming off that loss from Islam up at lightweight. I do think that he's going to get his arm raised here. I do think that Yair Rodriguez poses a unique challenge for him here in terms of striking and kicking specifically. But like we've seen Volk in the past, versus Max Holloway, he can neutralize the top elite level striking with his takedowns and with his kind of distance control. I know he's not the tallest guy with, not the biggest reach, but he does have that good IQ and can kind of navigate his way around the octagon. Interestingly enough, he is lankier than Yair here by a half inch, even though his height is substantially smaller at 5 inches. And I do think that, great wrestling base that Volkanovski possesses will be that X factor. So if we're looking at these odds, guys, it's obviously not great on the money line with Volk coming in at -400, but I am seeing some value here by decision. +125 seems like a likely outcome for this one, or even looking at that over. You could kind of, depending on your risk adversity here, you could look at -215 for over 2.5 rounds or -150 for over 3.5 rounds. I'm a little more risk happy, so I think I'm going to be going over that 3.5 rounds at -150. And again, a great parlay piece, or you can just hammer as a single bet. And so I hope you guys can cash in here with us. We'll get ahead of that book together. We're going to be back here on the podcast sharing some best bets in coming events here. Just haven't done this in a while and wanted to get one out to our loyal followers. So thank you for tuning in. Enjoy UFC 290 tomorrow, and we're going to catch you here at the cashier, and look forward to seeing you in episode 95. Take care, everyone, and have a great weekend.